If you are easily offended by critique of a Kevin Samuels or black men, then this is not the video for you. So I suggest you click out and watch another video. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks in a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business at paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. I got a comment on my video comparing your Kevin Samuels to Oprah Winfrey that I found to be quite troubling. And in this comment, the viewer stated that Kevin Samuels was giving a voice to black men and speaking for black men. Now, I find that comment to be quite troubling because this individual really does not understand that he's coming from a position of weakness when he needs a YouTube personality to speak for him and speak in his interest. Now, as somebody who was an introvert and still struggles with social anxiety disorder, even at 47 years old, I can tell you that when somebody speaks for you, you are not going to ever get what you want, because when somebody has to speak for you, that means you have to take whatever this person says as the word, and you have to take whatever they give you based on the terms that they negotiate. So you are not going out here and getting what you want because you don't have the courage to go face to face with that individual and let them know clearly what you want. So it's never a good thing to have somebody else represent you, because somebody else, when they represent you, are going to represent their own interest and they're going to represent their own agenda. So a lot of the black men who say, oh, Kevin Samuels is speaking for them, they really don't understand the weak platform that they're standing on, and they don't understand that when somebody speaks for you, they can lead you into a situation where you get something that is not exactly what you want. What you want to do is be the man who goes out here and speaks for himself, makes his own demands, and demands things on his own terms. Because the man who has the courage to go out here and speak for himself and demand what he wants, at the end of the day, he is the man who is going to go out here and get what he wants as related to tangibles, and he will also get the intangible of respect because he was willing to go out here and take what he wants in this world. And when I hear black men sitting there saying, oh, Kevin Samuels has to speak for them, that really shows me that there's a real issue with a lot of the black males out here who watch his show, and they're sitting there looking for Kevin Samuels to represent them in the same way black women were looking for Oprah Winfrey to represent them. And that covert contract wound up burning black women on the backside over 30 years ago, because once Oprah Winfrey used those black female masses to elevate herself, she did not reach back for the sisters in an effort to elevate them. No, she went right over to the white folks and she became their mammy, leaving the black community behind. And I fear that this same thing may happen to all the followers of Kevin Samuels. They will be used as a group to elevate this man, and then once he hits that 1 million subscriber mark or 1.5 million subscriber mark and goes mainstream, he's going to pivot and head over to those white men and leave all of these black men behind. And it really again makes me shake my head, because I look at this and I just can see the moves on the chessboard, but sadly many black men are so caught up in their emotions that they can't really see all of the moves on the chessboard being played right here. Now, in addition to many of these black men going out here and saying that this man has to speak for them. Many of these black men, when they say that, they don't see how they actually devalue all of the work of all of the great black male YouTubers who have been on this platform since its inception. Because if it wasn't for those black men going out here and putting themselves out there and taking the slings and arrows, your Kevin Samuels would not have a platform to stand on in the first place. Because I remember when I came to YouTube back in 2008, I remember many of the originators of this black male content, such as your Ringo, such as your Heavenly Truth One, such as your Avenue, such as your Rick Scorpio, such as your what was it, Tommy Sotomayor, even though I don't like his content, and The Advice Show, and Mr. Superboy. And I remember seeing many of those brothers going out here talking about black men's issues and trying to get our side of the story on the platform. And as those brothers were out here trying to get our voice on the platform, they were the ones who had to deal with false flags. They were the ones who had to deal with their channels getting taken down, and they were the ones who had to constantly go out here and continue rebuilding their pages over and over again in the face of all of the censorship that was going on YouTube from 2009 to about 2013, when it finally ended, when black men finally came together and said they were going to sue YouTube for censoring them. And that's when all of the salvos as related to the false flagging wound up eventually ending, because many of those men were getting ready to file a class action lawsuit against YouTube, and they clearly had a case for discrimination and censorship that could easily be won. And that's when we started to see YouTube back off as related to the false flagging. But if there was no false flagging from 2009 to 2013, I know for a fact that Mr. Superboy would have over 1 million subscribers, because when his last channel, before his Your World channel came on, was terminated, he was at 250,000 subscribers, and I remember him talking about that. And I also remember when guys like Dan Freeman, also known as The Avenue, was at 50,000 subscribers and continuing to climb. And I remember when Sergeant Willie Pete and many others had high double-digit subscriptions, and these men would possibly be at the point where, past the point where Kevin Samuels would be if it wasn't for false flagging. And I know that many of these other brothers out here, their channels would be exploding if it wasn't for YouTube shadow bans right now. So there's a lot of these black men out here who put themselves on the line, and many of these black men, these OG brothers, they were out here in the trenches before your Kevin Samuels came along with his gimmicks to get over. And those black men were out here in the trenches talking to the viewers out here, and it's a real disrespect to all of those black men who went out here and had channels ever since YouTube came along to tell them, oh, Kevin Samuels speaks for me. No, Kevin Samuels should not speak for you, because these brothers have been speaking on these topics for years. I myself have been blogging about these topics ever since about 2009, 2010 on my blog, Shawn James, Black Freelance Writer. And I had 2 blogs that went viral before your Kevin Samuels even came along, and one was called Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, and that blog practically went viral all across the web. The second one I did, Why Real Men Avoid Single Mothers, which I retitled Why Smart Men Avoid Single Mothers, was viral before your Kevin Samuels ever came along, or I even thought about doing YouTube. And because the blog had exploded so much over the course from 2009 to about 2014, that's when I decided it was time to stop blogging and then try to expand my platform so I could reach a larger audience. And that was the reason why I came to the YouTube platform. Again, I had a channel way back in 2008, but I just never really used it that much. I mean, I made 1 or 2 videos about false flagging and censorship to support many of the black male YouTubers because I didn't really feel I had a voice ready to go on the platform. But over the last couple of years, I have gotten and discovered my voice again. After having to deal with so many different issues in my life, I finally found my voice again. And now I've realized why it's important to have a voice, because if I don't speak for myself, then nobody is going to know exactly what I have to say. And I know the importance of a black man speaking for himself, because again, when others speak for you, you don't get the tangibles that you desire, and you also don't get the intangible of respect, because the only way to get respect is to take it, and the only way you take your respect is by going out here and speaking for yourself. And that's why I say your Kevin Samuels does not speak for Shawn James. Shawn James speaks for himself, and he's been outside of this YouTube platform speaking for himself on Blogger. He's been speaking for himself when he publishes books like Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And because I speak for myself, I can go out here and get respect, because when those black women were coming at me back when I wrote the blog Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, I stood my ground with those black women, and eventually those black women wound up backing away because they knew that I was going to stand firm on my position, and they knew that I was not going to back down. And that's the thing that people think your Kevin Samuels is able to do, because he goes out here and stands up to women in these phone calls. But I've been standing up to black women ever since Blogger, and I am not afraid of these black women. And again, I've been critiquing their poor behavior for years. And for me, this isn't about trying to, again, climb some YouTube social ladder. This is all about becoming a man of character, because in order to be a man of character, you have to stand up for yourself. And a man who wants to be a leader, he's not going to sit there and let another man go out here and lead him down a bad road. No, he's going to say, I'm following the Most High Living God, and He is my leader. Now, yes, you will go out here and follow the lead of a boss on a job, because that's his role as an authority, and that follows the Bible, because he tells you to follow the lead of those at work or in political offices. But when it comes down to my personal life, I don't need a Kevin Samuels to speak for me. No, I will speak for myself, because I, again, understand if I don't speak for myself, then nobody is going to hear me. And that is the big mistake many black males are making when they sit here and say, oh, Kevin Samuels gives me a voice. No, you can have a voice, and maybe it may not be heard by so many like Kevin Samuels is on YouTube, but it will be heard, because I was heard all over the world on Blogger, and I went out here again writing blogs and that practically went viral before I even came to this platform. I wrote books that I put on Smashwords for free, and I built my own audience up before you even heard of a Kevin Samuels. And while he was talking about fragrances and perfumes, I was out here talking about hard men's issues and writing books like Stop Simpin'. And when I look at black men out here, they are, again, following the lead of this man, submitting to him, not acting like a leader. They are acting like followers, and they really, again, don't see what they're doing by saying, oh, he speaks for me. that's not a road you want to be on, because I was on that road in junior high school. I was on that road in high school. And when I got to college, I made sure I wasn't on that road. I made sure that I was going to speak for myself, because I'm the only person who knows what I want. I'm the only person who knows what I need. I'm the only person who knows what I require, and I'm the only person who can go out here and negotiate those terms. But what the big problem is with some black men is they are so afraid of standing up to black women, because they fear if they stand up to the black woman, they won't get a taste of that atomic waste, or they won't get the attention from those women. But I'm here to tell you that when you stand up to a black woman, you don't care about the atomic waste. There are more important things than that atomic waste reactor between her legs. The most important thing is your dignity, your self-respect, and your self-worth. And if you have to walk away from a female who wants to be disrespectful, then there is no problem walking away from that female and other females, because if she can't give me the intangible of respect, then there's no reason for me to even have a relationship with this female. And that's what a man with a backbone does. He has no problem checking these women. And many of these guys, they want Kevin Samuels by proxy to check black women for them, when they need to be checking black women for themselves. Because if more men checked many of these women, they would not have the spoiled, entitled attitude, and they would not be following down the road that Madison Avenue and Hollywood have them chasing this high-value man, because they would be seeing leaders in their community who would set the tone for them and establish a standard for their behavior. Because when you have men in leadership positions, when they hear a woman talking about, oh, she wants this six-figure dude, they're going to let her know that if you want that six-figure dude, you can hit the bricks. But if you see me, this is what you're going to get. It is what it is. And if you don't want what I'm offering, you can hit the door. That is what a man of character does, because he understands his value as a man, and he understands his value in God's order as his steward. And he knows, as a responsible steward, he has an accountability to God, and he has an accountability to follow the rules of the Most High living God. So he understands that if this woman is out of order, she has no place with him, and he doesn't feel bad no matter how good she looks, whether she's a dime piece or a $5 food stamp. He understands his value as a man, and his value will not be compromised by any female. And that's what I'm seeing with many of these black males. They're willing to compromise their value in order to gain favor and approval of others. And that's where the big problem with me, with a lot of these black men and Kevin Samuels, is that they're willing to go out here and compromise their intangibles in order to try to get some favor from this guy, some approval and validation from this guy. And this is no different than what happens with the black bootlicks who kiss up to the white supremacist. They'll go out here and kiss up to the white supremacist, believing, oh, if I do this, I'll gain favor. But that's not what a man of character does, because a man of character understands that he gets where he goes based on merit, because he understands that if he goes out here and puts on his best foot forward, he will gain that same attention, and he will gain that attention because he is coming out here on his own. I mean, I got the attention of guys like O'Shea Duke Jackson, David Carroll, and Obsidian by just being me. And if I can do that, you guys can go out here and do that. You don't need to go out here and bootlick and brown nose, because bootlicking and brown nosing is coming from a position of weakness. And when you come from a position of weakness, you get no respect, and you are seen as less than, because you are seeing yourself as less than. And when you see yourself as less than, how can people value you? That is the critical question many black men need to ask themselves, because when you follow behind somebody like an acolyte or a sycophant, what you are doing is showing people like your Kevin Samuels they don't need to respect you, because you're sitting there following behind him and you're thinking, oh, he's my leader. No, he should never be your leader. You should be following the Most High living God and then taking the lead in your own life. That's what you should be doing. But many black men, they want to sit here and look for a savior, just like many black women are looking for a savior. And I'm here to tell you, there is no savior coming for you but Jesus Christ. And even he wants you to put in some work, because faith without works is dead. And if you don't have the courage to go out here and stand up like a man, you're never going to get anything tangible or achieve anything tangible in life. Because a guy who goes out here and is looking for somebody else to speak for them, again, that is coming from a position of weakness, and it shows how little value you have in yourself. Because a guy with low self-esteem, he's going to go out here looking for another man to speak on his issues, when he needs to go out here and speak on his own issues and let people know what he wants, and let people know what they need to know. Because I look at a lot of black men and they're just not acting like they have any sort of confidence with these black women. They're too afraid to stand up to them. They're too afraid to check them. And they're too afraid to even walk away from them. And I've been walking away from black women ever since I was 13 years old. And it's not a problem for me, because I understand that there are more important things out here than winning her attention or her approval, or dealing with all of her so-called attitude, her big mouth. There's more important things of value to me than her getting her attention and her approval. And one of those things is getting the approval of the Most High living God. And the other thing is achieving and accomplishing the goals I have set for myself. So I understand that there are more important things than your black woman, who, because she's getting the attention from Kevin Samuels, the black men are following him, and they're not understanding that this guy has some suspect things as I look at his platform, because he's been sitting here criticizing these black women, and he's never gotten a flag on his channel. That's a question that many of you black men need to ask yourself, because when I look at that whole aspect of it, he's never been flagged by anybody, and he's been talking bad about these black women. That should be something that is a big question mark for many of you, because to me, that really shows how this guy is an agent and how he's all about pushing an agenda towards black men to steer them and steer the narrative of your black men on YouTube more in a gynocentric direction than the original direction. Because when black men were speaking for themselves on this platform, we had a whole different tone. But the minute your Kevin Samuels comes along in his designer suits, talking about being a high value man, all of a sudden, instead of us talking about black men empowering ourselves, building up our own businesses, and talking about concepts like group economics and demanding tangibles in exchange for your tax dollars that you give to the government, all of a sudden we have black men talking about how black women need to be pandered to and catered to. And that really again shows me how this is all about changing the discourse and the narrative of black men on the social media platforms, from one of empowerment and actualization of potential to a platform talking about pleasing and appeasing black women, all to get us back on that plantation where all you're thinking about is how big her booty is, and can I get my taste of the atomic waste, and what can I buy her to get my shot at getting my turn for a taste of that atomic waste. That is what the most black men are really looking for, because they don't see where they're going. They don't see how you're being steered on a gynocentric platform where it's all about the black woman and it's not about you actualizing your potential as a black man. Because that's what your Kevin Samuels is being used for. He's being used to change the narrative on black social media. He's being used to push a gynocentric agenda, and he's being used to push black men from talking about enriching and empowering themselves to pleasing and appeasing black women, and that they're going from being leaders to followers. And sadly, many black men, they can't see this because they want to follow behind Kevin Samuels instead of learning the lessons they need to learn to be their own man and stand up on their own 2 feet as their own man. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my men's issues books like Stop Simpin' and The Man Crisis, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers this April, Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door must take on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess in paperback and e-readers this April.